What's on farms? My name is Grayson, and today we are going to be talking about some of the final preparations beekeepers need to be doing since it is October 29th today. It is Tuesday, October 29th, and today, like I said, we're going to be talking about final preparations beekeepers need to be doing to make sure their bees are prepared for winter. Now, before we do talk about, or at least I talk about some of the things beekeepers can do, I'm going to talk about kind of what I'm doing now. A lot of people know kind of what I do, but you may be new here, so you might not know exactly what my plans are and what I'm doing now to hopefully have success through winter. So the main thing I'm doing now is feeding and keeping my bees healthy. Because it is October, we're about to get into November. November is a crucial month for us to get final preparations in down here in Alabama to make sure our bees are strong, healthy, and strong enough to make it through the months of winter. So that's mainly what we are working on down here. Now up north, of course, there are a lot of different things up north. I'm sure a lot of beekeepers are already experiencing a lot of cold weather up north. If you're in Canada, or if you're in Ohio, or if you're in one of those northern states here in the U.S., you're already experiencing some of this cold weather. But we're not yet. We're just kind of experiencing some fall weather, some nice breezes here and there, and some nice weather at night. Not really cold. It's just really nice, and the bees are flying. But here soon, down here in Alabama, we are going to be starting to experience some of the colder weather. So we need to be prepared as well. So even though we're down here down south, I've always had this mindset of we always need to be prepared no matter what. Because, we can have a very, very bad cold snap, which usually every year, at least through the past 2 years, we've had a cold snap. It was preferably more within like December and January. It was like around Christmas time, a little bit before, things got really, really cold. So we had to do a lot of things, not just with the bees, but of course with, plumbing and, those sort of things. Because if it gets too cold, the pipes will, start freezing up. And we also had to deal with the bees as well to make sure they have enough food to get through the cold days. So that's what we usually experience every winter. But as we know it, Mother Nature is Mother Nature. So we have no idea what's going to happen this winter. So for me and other beekeepers doing what they love to do, keeping bees, we put them in the box. It's kind of my mindset. We need to be able to know kind of what we need to be doing to ensure that our bees are, number one, healthy, and number two, they'll survive winter. Now, what are the things that we need to be doing here in the month of October and, getting into November? Because it's October 29th. We're only really 2 days away from November. And before we know it, December will be here, and there we are. Boom, winter's here. Now, like I said, a lot of people are probably already in winter, so I'm really speaking for me because down here in Alabama, we're not even in winter yet. We're not really experiencing any cold weather, but usually every winter we'll get a very bad cold snap, and we're going to have to take action. Even though we don't get too cold, and our temperatures stay within 65 during the day, sometimes even 55, sometimes the 40s, and we only get down to 32, 30, maybe high 20s. Most people think that's warm weather because they experience even harsh weather up north. But down here, I still don't want to take anything for granted. I just want to go on and make sure everybody's prepared so I don't have to deal with it later, right? So I've been struggling with stuff like that, but this year I'm going to make sure that everybody's ready. So let me kind of talk about what I'm doing now, what I'm kind of doing now, and then we'll get into some of the things that we can do in the future and now to make sure our bees are prepped up for winter and we can have, hopefully, a good success rate. So number one, I've already treated for mites. If you're wondering, because I haven't mentioned mites, yes, mites are really, really bad, and they're a bad problem down here in Alabama and throughout the whole United States. But I've already treated for mites. That was one of my main goals to do, is make sure the mites were knocked out. So, check mark. So I already got the mite treatments, and I used Apiguard because I only really used Apivar. So I kind of wanted to change it up so the mites wouldn't get immune to Apivar, and I couldn't use it anymore, right? So I wanted to go on and put some Apiguard in there, kind of get some different treatments in there, and I'll go back to Apivar and kind of go back and forth, and I'll also buy some other treatments and try them out and kind of switch up the whole way of what treatments I'm using. So I've already treated for mites. Right now I'm pretty much done feeding sugar water because I already kind of put the last sugar syrup on there, the buckets. I filled them up and I put them on there. I'm pretty much done feeding because here's the thing, I fed all the way from August here to October. So those long periods of time, they are heavy. I checked them. I promise you, I looked through them each frame by frame. I couldn't have anything better. They have a lot of stored honey from that syrup, a lot of stored syrup, and some of the honey from spring. I took a good bit of it. I should have maybe leave a little bit of it, but I pretty much have everything in place. There's brood. All the queens are very healthy. I couldn't ask for anything better. So that's kind of what I'm doing now. The last things that I'm really focusing on is make sure, number one, all my queens are healthy. Make sure the hives in general are healthy. Make sure beetles, wax moths, any of these different little things, make sure they don't get out of control. And here and there, make sure, of course, mites don't get over control in winter. Because even though I treated in fall, those mite numbers can easily go back up. So I still have some Apiguard left. I can easily put some more trays in there if I really need to, but I already did that, so I should be good to go. But if I need to, I can open up the colony, test. If I come back with a big mite number, I can just put those trays right into the colonies and treat them if I need to. That is, if I need to. So that's the main plan. If you, like I said, keeping my bees healthy. I just want my bees healthy. I just want my bees strong. I want a lot of bees. I want my numbers to be up big going into winter. Also feed during winter. So we'll be getting into, I'm going to talk a little bit about feeding as well, of what I'm going to be doing going into winter. I talked about all of what I'm doing, kind of what I'm doing now, and well, let's kind of talk about some of the things us beekeepers, this isn't just you, I'm talking to everybody who's keeping bees and myself, of what my plans are as well, of what I need to do and what other beekeepers need to do. So what are those things? Well, let's kind of start off basic, simple, and sweet. Number one, make sure your queen excluders are off. If you have any supers on, make sure they're off. And I don't really have to worry about that because I took those off a long time ago. I didn't even do any honey for fall. I didn't even bother trying to put some supers on the colonies, try to get a little bit of a fall flow, because I just want to be honest, we didn't really get much nectar off of the goldenrod. That's where I had to feed heavy. So I didn't have to worry about having to take off any of that stuff if I needed to. But if you maybe have some queen excluders on, make sure to take them off, because if your bees start to try to travel up to the supers from your brood box, they'll probably most likely leave the queen, and then she can't go up to the super as well, because they'll migrate if you have multiple boxes, right? If you have multiple boxes, that cluster will move up to the super to have more honey if they run out of the honey from the brood box. So you got to make sure your queen excluders are off. I already have mine off. I've made sure I know my supers and my queen excluders are off. And the main reason why I'm saying my supers are off, because I run single deeps. I don't really run any double deeps. I don't run a single and a medium. I did last year, but right now I'm finding it much more efficient, much more easier to just run with a single deep. Alright, the next thing that I did mention earlier that we do kind of need to do is number one, making sure we take care of beetles. Now, you guys are probably saying there, Grayson, beetles? Come on, beetles aren't going to be a problem now. Well, I will tell you, last year we had a bad problem with them all year long, even in winter, and I still have beetles in the colony now. So if you have too many beetles, make sure to take action. If it's even simple, just stay in there and try to smash as many as you can. That's one of the best ways to do it. And it's fun too, because those beetles are really, really annoying, I'll tell you. Or you can put some beetle traps in there if you like. Just make sure you kind of keep them under control. Now, if there's not a lot in there, you really don't got to really worry about it, because I find that even if there's like maybe 5, 10, that's not bad at all. That's not even worse to what I've seen. But if you start seeing a lot of them consistently, you need to probably start trying to do something to try to get rid of those, because that will probably cause a problem in the near future. Now, it wouldn't necessarily kill the bees instantly, but it could lead up to most likely of them absconding, because a lot of times if it's really, really a bad mess in the colony and you don't see it, and it's happened to me too. Those beetles will get in there, it's a mess. The bees don't like it, they don't like it at all, so they just end up leaving. So just make sure that your beetle numbers are kind of under control. Just make sure they don't get out of control, especially if you're down south. But if you're up north, I will say that if you're up north, usually your beetle numbers won't be bad at all, because you're up north and the beetles don't really like that cold climate, should I say. So most beekeepers up north don't have a problem with beetles, because I've heard that from some northern beekeepers in my live streams and things like that. They don't have a bad problem. But who has that problem? The beekeepers down south, and that's where I am. So I have to make sure my beetle numbers are low, and I would advise, if you're down south, make sure you do the same, because those beetles will definitely cause a problem even in winter if you're down south and you have some warm days here and there, and we certainly do. Alright, the third thing that I would advise beekeepers to do now, since it is coming here in November, is to have a plan in place for what you're going to be doing in winter. Now, what does that mean? Well, specifically, I think that beekeepers need to have a plan for what they're going to do going into winter. Have a plan in place so then you know kind of what you're going to try to do. And let me give an instance like feeding in winter, kind of how you're going to feed, what you're going to feed, kind of what's your method you're going to use. Have an idea at least kind of what you're going to do. Now let me kind of mention my plan. I'm going to be kind of feeding some candy boards. Now you may be wondering, candy boards down south, what's the reason for that? And the main reason why I do candy boards is it's the same as a sugar brick. There's no difference in a sugar brick than in a candy board. It's the same thing, but the only difference is it is on a board. And for me, that makes it much more easier to just slap on the colony and put it on the colony and just leave it there, and then I can refill it easy. Now, a sugar brick, I have nothing against it, but I've just kind of grown fond of candy boards, and I actually made some new candy boards, and I'm working on some new candy boards. It's much nicer, better design. I'll show it here soon in upcoming videos of kind of how it's made, kind of how I do it, and not really a how-to, just to kind of show it. I'll just show it off and just of what I'm doing. But that's my main thing, my main plan. But that's really important to have a plan, a goal even, of what you're going to try to do going into winter and how you're going to accomplish it. Just make sure you have a plan in place, because that is important, so you kind of have an idea of what you're doing and you don't just go into winter without a plan. And that can be pretty bad, because if you go into winter without a plan, you have no idea what you're going to do, and you're just there wondering each night, what am I going to do, what am I going to do? Instead, before winter, you can already have that plan built up in your head and go on and even write it on a piece of paper. Here, this is my plan, this is how I'm going to do it, this is what I want to do, and here's how I'm going to accomplish it. So, pretty simple things there. Anything difficult to think about. It's just basic things that I think can lead to your colonies getting out of winter, alive, and, have a good year next year. So, those are some other things. Having a plan is really key to going into winter. I believe. That's just my belief. I've been thinking in my head, the past couple of weeks what I'm going to do. And I kind of really have. I already have my plan in place. I have everything already in place where I'm not going each night thinking, oh no, what am I going to do for winter? And another thing I really like is my bee yard is really organized. Now, not the equipment stuff, but of what I'm going to be doing to keep my bees alive. That's really organized. It's not like a mess or anything. It's like, because last year, I will say, I'll kind of give it just a little story here. Last year, I had colonies from 5 frames to 10 frames, and all the colonies weren't strong. They weren't equal. That's what I should say. They weren't equalized. But I feel that my colonies now are so much more equal. They're much more stronger. All of them are strong. That's what I want. That's what I've been trying to strive for, is trying to have equal colonies, not having them all over the place. One weak, one even weaker, one a little bit more stronger than that one, but still weak, and one that's much more stronger than that one that isn't the strongest, but it's also not the weakest. See, that's just kind of unequal. Now I have all of them are strong. All of them are healthy. All of them have food. All of them have a queen. All of them have brood. See, just some basic things that make it much more easier for me. And, I just was able to do that this year, and I really like how that has gone for me. That's kind of what I wanted to do, is kind of be a little bit more equal. And you know what? That's one thing that I think most beekeepers try to go for, is try to be more equal, make sure their colonies are equal, make sure, they equalize to make each colony equal. That's why you equalize. That's why you hear people all the time talking about equalizing. That's the main reason what it's for, is to try to equalize all your colonies, so then all your colonies are the same strength, instead of, like I said, having one weak, one of them even weaker, and so on. Alright, the final thing I kind of want to mention before we end off here, one important tip. One thing that I do advise beekeepers to do is have a spring plan, goals for the next year. So next year, next spring, what are you going to be doing? What do you want to accomplish next year? Now, here's the thing, I've talked about it before. I usually go, day by day, kind of what I want to do, how I want to expand. And that's important too. Don't rush into things. But also, it is important to just have some ideas, some small things that you kind of want to do better, or you want to do, and some things that you kind of want to try out next year. Some things, some plans, some goals that you want to accomplish next year, and for the next year. But when you're going into the next year, of course, that's one thing I do believe beekeepers should try to do. Try to have a plan of some sort, whether it be you want to try some queen rearing, you want to try to raise some nukes, you want to try to make some money, or do you just want to keep it a hobbyist, a small business, or do you have plans on making it a big business? Some different plans and ideas of what you want to do the next year, and you keep doing that over and over again, of course. And I plan on doing a video for me of my plans for next year. So I'm not going to be really talking about my plans for next year. I plan on making a video, so stay tuned to the channel for that. There's a lot of other things that we can talk about, but those are some of the main small things that we just kind of need to keep in our heads and kind of, you know, keep up with, and just some small things. It's not anything big or anything. It's not nothing that is hard or anything like that. It's just some basic things that can lead up to big success. And I will say this, I've always kept the channel around, you know, how to be successful and those type of things, and I've made videos about it, being successful and some those type of things as well. And one of the main things for being successful is not really me telling you some advice. It's just advice, some different things that could maybe help you if you want to try it out. And you know what, this is stuff that is just basic stuff. I'm not really saying how to do it. I'm just saying that you kind of need to think about it, and you can kind of come up with the things that you kind of want to do. So when I say have a plan for next year, you know, your plan can be anything. It doesn't have to be you want to expand. You might want to decrease, or if you want to expand, you can, you know. So I think it's always up to each individual beekeeper of what they want to do. And my videos are just here to say, hey, if you want any advice, you know, you can watch the videos, and I have some advice there. If you want it, you can kind of take it. Maybe take some bolts and some screws, as I say, and screw it to what you're doing, and maybe it will fit what you're trying to do, right? So you can take these little things from what I do or what other beekeepers do, like Ian Stepler, Bob Beanie, or David Burns, all these different beekeepers who are on YouTube, Frederick Dunn. You just take those little things that they do that you look at and say, hey, that might work for me. That could work for me. You could try it out, and don't be scared to try new things. I've tried new things all the time, like Apigard. I never tried it before. I saw a lot of beekeepers use it. I tried it out, and it worked pretty good. So that's just my main thing, some advice, some things that we need to be doing now to keep our bees healthy, keep them strong, and ultimately get them through winter. That's our main objective here, to get our bees through winter healthy and alive, and then next year we can continue to do the same thing. So that's the final thing I just kind of wanted to mention. Just have a spring plan in action. If you want to expand, maybe sell some nukes, if you have a little idea, and buy some equipment for what you plan to do. If you plan on doing some queen rearing, you know, you can just order some of the things that you need. You know what, I also do some queen rearing. I ordered the stuff and I ended up not doing it, but I still have the queen rearing stuff. So when I get to that point, I already have it. I don't have to order anything. So even if you don't use it, you know, you still have it, and you can use it whenever you need it. But other than that, that's pretty much it. There's a lot of other things that people can mention, but overall, that's mainly it. Just continue to keep your bees, continue to keep them healthy, keep them strong, and have a good plan going into winter and coming out of winter. Thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you guys on the next beekeeping video. Take care, everyone.